If you're at zero and you know what you want to do in life, or even if you don't, like, you need to get around the people that have actually done what you're trying to do.
That's good.
There's a guy that we interviewed on our channel, and he asked James, are there a shortcut to your dreams? And James said, no, there's no shortcuts. But the guy said, yes, there is shortcuts. The shortcut is mentorship. Because when you go and find that mentor that's at where you want to be, they're going to tell you everything that they messed up on.
Yeah.
Every slip up,
every pitfall.
And make sure that you don't do that as well. Or at least, when you're faced with that decision, you don't screw up as bad.
Welcome back to another episode of Kingdom Heirs, where faith meets business, inspiring the kingdom-minded entrepreneur. Today, I've got the great privilege of having Jack Dumoulin here with me. He is the co-founder of the School of Hard Knocks. We're going to discuss the importance of branding and life lessons that he's learned from interviewing thousands of people who are millionaires.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show, Jack. How are you?
I'm doing great, James. Thanks for having me on. It's down here in the great state of Texas in Corpus Christi.
Come on,
Can't complain.
The sparkling city by the bay is what they call it.
Yes, sir.
So I'm happy you're on the show today. You're a guy that probably a lot of people may not see so often, but I'm sure they've seen your channel. The School of Hard Knocks channel's got, for YouTube, 226,000 subscribers, Instagram, 1.6 million followers, Facebook's got 947,000 followers, and TikTok's got 1.3 million followers. And I checked those this morning because I know sometimes they go up and down daily, right?
They do.
All right.
It moves quick.
It does. It's a quick needle up and down. Yes. But one of the things that I want to say is that you started this only nearly 3 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty much it was myself, my brother James, who everyone typically sees in the interviews, and our friend Joshua Smith. We pretty much grew up together doing different activities, extracurricular stuff, and pretty much we kind of came together about, I would say, 4 years ago. I ended up going to UT Austin about 5-6 years ago. That's what brought me down here. Was really getting into some pretty entrepreneurial stuff. I had a background in kind of like data analytics and software, and was doing a lot of like consulting projects for different companies. Mm-hmm. I also was working for the CEO of Buc-ee's at the time, and just kind of seeing that how he kind of ran things gave me a lot of entrepreneurial spirit. My brother James, got really heavily into TikTok, and he grew his personal following to probably about, I would say, 900,000, just shy of 1 million. Wow. And then our friend Josh, he was doing a lot of digital marketing stuff, starting his own business. And so we're all from the DC area, grew up and raised there, moved around a lot as a kid. But through that kind of process of going to school and everything, we realized quickly that not a lot of people in the DC area were super entrepreneurial minded. And so through that, we kind of bonded over that. And about 3 years ago together, we came to start the channel.
That's awesome. And this was just post-COVID.
Yes.
Was this still during lockdowns, or is this still like, what was it? I mean, were you already over at UT post-COVID or during COVID? What was that? So
I started at UT in 2018.
Okay.
Probably around like end of my sophomore year, kind of like that spring semester, COVID hit. And so I'd gone back to DC for about 4 months.
Okay.
Had gone back and forth a few times to go work with Buc-ee's a few times. Right. But pretty much the last week that I was going to be in Virginia, up in Northern Virginia, DC, forever. I have actually not been back since.
You're not missing much now that your family's here.
Exactly. Texas is amazing. And so pretty much James was actually coming down to UT as well to come study there. And so that was like the last week we're going to be there in like late August. Mm-hmm. We were going to come down for his first fall semester. And my parents were also moving out of there as well. They're coming down to San Antonio. And so just on a whim, we're at a friend's house, and our friend Josh pretty much sees that he lives around the corner, I guess, from one of our longtime childhood friends, and randomly just texts him and asks him to hang out.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't seen Josh in probably 2 years, maybe a year or so. We kept in touch on the phone, had calls and stuff like that about different entrepreneurial stuff, but we hung out, had a great time, got to talking, really realized it's like, there's not too many people who are having conversations like this in this area, and just kind of on a whim, that last week we were there, we had saw Josh one more time, and probably about 2 weeks to a month later, we had a phone call when we were in Texas with Josh, and pretty much we were just like, hey, let's do something together. I think this would be really cool, and that's what kind of
that's what brought you together.
Brought us together into that direction.
All right, that's awesome. So the social media space, right? And hey, nice car. What do you do for a living? Hey, nice house. You mind if I ask you a few questions? I mean, really. So, and it's got a massive following. People love that content that you guys create. But how did that get birthed, like that type of question?
Right.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, so we really started making videos ourselves on TikTok, and we would post them everywhere. Essentially, we would just like do selfie style videos. We would hold it up, and we would start talking about our experiences, just as like a young 20-year-old person in trying to pursue business.
Yeah.
Stuff that we've just encountered, life tips, things like that. We grew that to about probably, I'd say 25,000 followers over the course of a few months. Mm-hmm. That's great. But we really saw that was like, it's not really progressing how we really want to see it progress.
Yeah.
It's probably half a year that we were doing that. And we quickly realized that it's like, most people don't really want to hear about business and tips in business from people that haven't built a legit, young 20-year-old kids that haven't built a legit,
makes sense,
standing successful business. And so we were just like, we need to make a pivot that I think would be, and that completely changed the trajectory of the channel. And so we just started doing interviews as one of the ideas that we thought to pursue to make that pivot, and ended up taking off.
That's amazing. So your background, but I mean, I know you grew up in the DC area, but were you guys born and raised there? Is that kind of where you got your flair for life? I mean, you guys see life differently. Just all the conversations I've had with you and your brother and Josh, you guys see things differently. But between you and your brother, what was your upbringing like?
Yeah, military family. Dad was a colonel in the Army. Pretty much traveled the world my entire childhood up until I was probably around 10, 11, and still traveling the world after that, just because I've had those experiences at a young age. If you haven't taken the chance to actually just go experience something in the world that is different from your current upbringing, this bubble that you live in, there's so much out there in the world, whether it be from culture, life experiences, conversations, perspectives, that can really garner a respect for just people and culture and coming together with other people. So ended up, when I was younger, lived in South Korea for about 4 years. That was an amazing experience. At the time, being 6 years old and, leaving the U.S. to go to Korea, you don't really understand how cool of an opportunity that is.
It's amazing.
And so you kind of wasn't really into it at the time. But looking back, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me, for sure.
Shapes your worldview, shapes your perspective on life.
Yes.
You realize what's important, what's not important, even from a young age. Right? I mean, it's just because it's ingrained young.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like you grow up with a, greater respect and ability to try to connect with other people, even if they, might come from a completely different background as you.
Right.
You realize that, hey, I have my perspectives and I have my way of life that I do things, but this person over here has a completely different set of programs that they grew up with, a completely different set of just things, thoughts, opinions, experiences, hardships, challenges, success, completely different. And that those experiences really shaped the way for our ability to connect with people. And that I honestly do think that played a super pivotal part in our channel being a success.
So that was my connection point. That's kind of how I see it, as you see that there's a lot of different types of people out there, different colors, different sizes, different shapes, right? Different dress, culturally, they speak different, and you were immersed in that. And so now, being back, in Texas, right? Different culture, but a different culture than DC for certain.
Yes.
But looking at it now, as you're interviewing all these different people, I would think that then your perspective is a little more broader when you interview people, because from a young age, you saw it that way. Oh, there's a lot of different types of people, and they all have different type of things to say, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, this proves from a very certain standpoint of what people say when they try to turn us down for an interview. We've had the pleasure to interview some really fantastic people with some big brands.
Yeah.
And when we're trying to give the pitch as to why people should do an interview with us, especially when we're doing the man on the street style, we'll use a lot of those names to really try to be like, hey, this isn't a joke for TikTok. Like, this is we have a legit thing that we're trying to accomplish here.
Yes.
And would love your help. And through that, like, we can get into some of the names that we work with later, but when we say that, a lot of times it'd be, oh, I'm not that person. For example, Mark Cuban's one of the people that we've interviewed.
Yeah.
And so like we'll say, oh, hey, we've interviewed Mark Cuban, we've interviewed so-and-so. Like this is a legit channel.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, well, I'm not as wealthy as Mark Cuban. So I'm
not at that level.
You don't want to
talk to me.
You don't want to talk to me. Where it's the opposite of that. We want to talk to you. We want to hear from you. Everybody has a perspective.
Yes.
Not everybody's going to be able to relate to a billionaire on how to make it in life.
Correct.
Some people might need, that person that owns the bakery shop around the corner, if that's a trade or field that they're trying to go into, how to start a broadcast TV company is not going to be the advice that they need. Maybe some stuff, but it might be like, hey, how do I get a loan for a small business and things like that. And you need to hear that from a small business owner.
I love that. It puts it back in perspective because everyone starts at the same place. The only difference, I think, and I've talked about this before, even with my own children, is that we should launch at different places in life, but we all have to start at the same place. It's from the same young age, right? They're born the same way and raised a little differently, but you still have to learn the same disciplines of life, right?
Yes.
If you want to be successful. But when you launch your child, so like a successful person who's already kind of worked their way up, the goal would be is that you can launch your children from there and they can kind of take the baton and go from there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that kind of start literally at ground zero. They work their way up fully. And so it doesn't matter what type of industry you're in, right? And whatever type of advice that you might be able to give me, someone who is in the same industry, is huge because they've already walked it out. They've already figured it out.
Absolutely. I mean, we've experienced that. Our business is a media company.
Right.
And when we first started making the videos, we didn't see it that way. We had to learn that hey, you are building a media company.
That's right.
And through that, we've had a lot of people in our ear, especially through a lot of the people that we've interviewed. You come in contact with a lot of wealthy people, and everybody's got a grand idea of how to take you guys to the next level. Mm-hmm. And something that we've had to really learn is that is this person coming from a place of where we want to go? Yeah. Like there's that piece of saying, like, don't take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with.
Well said.
And it's like, hey, and that even goes for if they are successful. If they're sure, they might be more successful financially or they have a bigger company or whatever, but if you wouldn't trade places to go into that industry, you still might not even want to take their advice. And so with that, we had to make a pivot with who we were really listening to and make sure that we were talking to people in the media space.
Well said. Wow, that's a really good point. Get into industry circles that people are already in your industry and they can tell you what they've done.
Yes.
And how it works, how to navigate.
And that's a crucial piece of advice that a lot of the successful and wealthy individuals that we've talked to is a lot of them have said that if we talk about college a lot and that, you go to college, you're going to be well-rounded. You're going to, and people, there's a lot of kids, they think that because they have a degree that they're entitled to go get an amazing job and
six-figure income right out the gate.
Be an optimist, but it's a little, it's a little too optimistic sometimes. You're not really seeing what's really going on. And so a lot of times when we talk to the wealthy people, they pretty much say that hey, college is probably good for some stuff, if you want to be a doctor, things like that. But if you're at zero and you know what you want to do in life, or even if you don't, you need to get around the people that have actually done what you're trying to do.
That's good.
Because there's a guy that we interviewed on our channel, and he asked James, since James is the one that does the interviews, he pretty much asked James, he said, are there a shortcut to your dreams? And James said, no, there's no shortcuts. But the guy said, yes, there is shortcuts. The shortcut is mentorship. Because when you go and find that mentor that's at where you want to be, they're going to tell you everything that they messed up on.
Yeah.
Every slip up, every failure.
Every pitfall.
And make sure that you don't do that as well. Or at least, when you're faced with that decision, you don't screw up as bad.
That's so good. There's something that we were talking about, I think maybe yesterday in a conversation that we had was it's the journey process and should we skip steps? And I think a lot of people talk about, get rich quick schemes, right? Especially in business, especially the internet is plagued with get rich quick schemes, right? And there's a lot of gurus out there that are just constantly trying, I'm going to 5x your income, I'm going to 10x, I'm going to 100x your income if you just pay $10,000 and come to my seminar, right? And they're all trying to sell you a fast way to become a multimillionaire. Fast. But I feel like if you go from here to there without learning any of the lessons in between, well, you may have gotten there. And I don't think it's a high percentage of people who go to a seminar that get there. I think it's like the 1%ers that still do all the work and still achieve that highest level of success because they're willing to put in everything it takes to hit it. But if we skip all those steps in between, I feel like we're doing a disservice to ourselves. What's your thought on that?
So in this, I won't even use in necessarily a business sense, but I'll use it with our channel, for instance. And like a pivotal point of what we've learned from growing a large social media following is just how patient you really have to be. It's the same thing that I think in business and productivity, and what someone on our channel has actually said before. You need macro patience, micro urgency. So it's understand that it's going to take a long time. Whether it's business, growing a social media following, like, when we first started, we're at 1.6 million followers on Instagram, but we were like 250 posts in, and we had less than 50 followers. It was pretty grim to the point where we were just like, and so there were a lot of lessons there that we had to learn, and understanding that it takes, you have to be at this for a while, but it's the micro urgency of every day you're consistent, you're putting something out there and learning from it, which, just like you said, if you kind of skip those steps, a mentor can tell you and give you a piece of advice. And I think that's huge. It can refrain you from making
big
things.
Deal. Yes, it's a
but
big deal.
The biggest way to learn in life is to really go out there and try to do things yourself,
and fail.
You'll make mistakes that hurt, and you'll never make them again.
That's right.
Or if you do, you're gonna be looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, what are you doing?
What was I doing?
What are you doing?
I have those moments on a regular basis. I think that's part of it, though, right? Is failure. We had a group yesterday. We were talking to the Texas A&M Kingsville College. We were talking to a young group of business people who are just pursuing their business degree. And that was one question they were asking, is about failure. And these guys are like deathly afraid to fail. I was like, oh my goodness, are you serious? Dude, fail a lot. That's like the best thing you can do is fail, because it's the greatest teacher if you allow it to be your teacher.
I'd say a lot of that comes down to people worried about what other people think of them.
Absolutely.
It's not necessarily, sometimes it might be you're worried about failing for yourself, but more than likely it's probably because you're worried, like, oh, if I try to do this and I fail, then mom's going to tell me to go get a job.
The job.
Go get the job.
Yeah.
Don't go pursue that big dream. If I fail at this, then my girlfriend's going to break up with me. Those sorts of thoughts, or people are going to clown me on social media if I go out and start posting, which is usually that's every person trying to create content. That's their biggest fear, is that
being embarrassed.
Is that like, oh, what are people going to think when I really want to start this business, or I want to start this page talking about stuff and this brand. But they're so consumed and self-conscious of the fact of what's going to happen if I post and so sends it, or what is this person thinking of me? People whose opinions are not. Another saying from somebody on our channel, someone else's opinions never paid my bills.
Well said.
And it's just so true. It's so true. No, if anybody would have listened to the doubters and haters, which usually if you're doing something really substantial in life, you get haters.
Plenty of them.
And most of that stems from because those people are so insecure that they don't have the courage to take those risks.
They're not engaging with their own life plan. They're not engaging with their dreams. They don't want to pursue it because of what ifs.
Yes. They can't look themselves in the mirror and realize that even if I'm making more money than them or whatever, that guy, that girl, they have something that I don't. And that is, they're not afraid to fail. They're not afraid of opinions.
We're talking about, the Bible calls it the fear of man, and how we should not have the fear of man, but we should have the fear of God. Right? And that's such a huge principle. I learned that 24 years ago. It was very early in life. I was 18, 19 years old. I couldn't do anything, especially I come from a large family and I'm one of the youngest. I couldn't do anything without fearing or thinking what my siblings might say, how they might give me a hard time if I tried this, I stepped out and did it. What would other people think or do because I was now trying to pursue this thing. So really that plagued my thoughts. And I remember I was talking to a mentor of mine at the time and I said, man, I can't stop thinking about what other people are thinking about me. And then he's like, who cares what other people are thinking about you? You should only care about what God thinks about you. Yeah. And I was like, that was freeing. Literally, chains fell off. Like, I was free. I said, you're right. And God's promises for me are that he wants to prosper me. He wants to give me a hope. He wants to give me a future. He wants to improve my life. He wants me to grow closer to him, know my purpose in life. And my purpose in life is to know God, just like all of us should be, is to know God personally and to serve other people with our gifts and talents he's given us. Right?
Yes.
I mean, that ultimately is business, is serving other people, right? And so you guys have been interviewing thousands of people who've showed you how serving others has made them very wealthy.
Yes.
Isn't that wild? What a principle, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they stopped fearing what other people had to say about them. They stopped caring what other people had to say. I think it's important what you care about your wife says, what your children say, your parents say, for the most part, right? Your closest inward circle that really supports you and believes in you, because we want advice and advisors around us. But everybody else is just in the wind.
Yeah, it's okay if you have people that you trust to keep their thoughts in mind.
Keep you grounded.
At the end of the day, you hit it nail on the head. It's God's way. It's that, the fear of man, the fear of their opinions and things like that. It goes on the other side of the coin, is that when you're afraid of somebody else judging you, when really the only person whose judgment you should seek is the Lord.
That's right.
It's on the other side. If the natural human instinct, and I clarify human because it is not a godly trait. It is a human trait to judge others.
So true.
If you catch yourself doing that, a lot of times it's like, if I, those quick things, it's like, oh, if I think something about somebody, I quickly say to myself, it's not my decision to make that call.
Well said.
It's God's decision on their day.
That's right.
To make that call for the way that person's living their life.
It's so true.
Because there's things that all of us do that at the end of the day, like, no one should be judging us for. There's only really one person that you're going to have that answer from on how you lived your life.
You're right. And I think it also falls in line. So from that perspective, the flip side is to then determine who you want to link up with.
Yes.
Because the last thing that we want to do is, there's a lot of guys out there that want to give us advice, and they want us to pay them for their advice. And because they're in front of millions of people, that means that they must have something really worthy to say, and I should be subscribed to them. Well,
Yes.
You know that. I mean, you know that for sure. So I think the question is, but do I want to listen to everything? Do I want to fall in line? Do I want to be in agreement with these gurus? Do I want to be? Right? Because what are they really teaching, preaching? Yeah. Because they are preaching. They are preaching a message, right? And so what I'm saying is that, and I want to hear this from you, because if the many people you've interviewed, you've been in front of billionaires, you're in front of multimillionaires. I mean, you've been in front of people that just make $100. You've been in front of a lot of people, and I like the fact that you look at people as people, regardless of dollar signs in their bank account, right? And that's one thing I appreciate about you guys. But there's people, in saying that, there's people that, man, they look like they have everything that I want. But do I really want that? You said it, the advice.
Yeah.
Do I really want to take advice from these guys? Do I really want to link up and rub shoulders? Do I really want to shake their hand? Because what sticks? What sticks after shaking their hand? What stays?
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like I feel like it's a slippery slope.
Well, it can. Who you choose to listen to can leave imprints on you on how you live your life.
Yes.
And it goes back to saying as to why, like, we should really be in tune and trusting God's word, and that's what we should follow.
Right.
We were talking yesterday about wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yeah. That's right.
And there are a lot of voices on social media, and a lot of people don't know what to listen to and where to stray. And I think it really comes down to a gut instinct reaction. I feel like that's God putting that there as to, is this somebody that I should listen to, or is, like, what are their intentions behind it? And I'll put it in the context of, like, yes, I've met my brother and James, Josh, and I have all met people coming from a wide range of incomes and perspectives.
Yes.
I've met really wealthy people that were some of the nicest people behind doors, even if, like, in their brand they're a little bit more upfrontish.
Yeah.
But they're actually really nice people, and really down to earth and chill. I've also met people that, they have a lot of wealth, but you go and you go in there and you hang out with them behind the scenes, and it's like it's schizophrenic. Like they're dark. Life is little all over the place.
Yeah.
And how much of that is in relation to how much are they really being truthful when they say how successful they are? Because to me, it's like, sure, maybe you made a lot of money on a deal or whatever, but everything else in your life is a mess. It's an astray.
Shambles, yeah.
And that to me doesn't look like wealth. That to me looks like, you might have had a good financial break, but there's a lot of things you're not wealthy in life.
So true.
That you need to, seek God and see, like, hey, how can I fix these more righteous areas of our life that's not money related? Family, peace of mind, just waking up in the morning every day and just, wow. Just being able to breathe and not feel like you're under all this pressure and stress.
So wealthy. So I've talked to one of my daughters about this in an interview we did. Wealth is not tied to dollars.
No.
Wealth does not equal dollars. Doesn't matter how many zeros attached to it. What is wealth equal to you? What does wealth mean to you?
Wealth to me, I think that wealth can be a component, but it's not what a lot of people look at is they think it's the whole picture.
Yeah.
I think wealth can be a byproduct of being wealthy in other areas. Like you said, helping people. That is a crucial piece that I think when you turn the attention away from yourself and you look up how can I fulfill other needs. You know, we were talking about I brought up Mark Cuban earlier.
Yeah.
And in our interview with him, it was very short. It was a happening chance encounter. We took our roll of the dice and said, let's do it. We're going to go up to him. We're going to give him our pitch because worst he can say is no. Take the risk or lose the chance is probably one of our key company principles.
Take the risk or lose the chance.
Take the risk or lose the chance. And so what he said in his interview was basically like, be a salesman, but being a salesman is about helping people. You need to truly listen to what people need.
Yes.
And help serve them, and you will be successful beyond your means.
I love it.
And that's a crucial fundamental. Is your relationship with God really good? Are you keeping yourself physically? You know, I've dealt with a bit of health struggles at a young age, and it's caused a ton of
life in perspective.
Yes,
look at my life. What do I want my life to be about?
And it's just amazing that and we'd interviewed a doctor as well, and he pretty much even said that like he's operated and worked with people that have had millions of dollars, and they said I would give the money all away if God could just help give my gut back, if they could help fix this. And I've even said that too through a lot of my struggles with that sort of stuff. And so that to me, wealth looks like having a well-rounded life.
Yeah.
If everything's concentrated in the wealth department, that means that it's not going to last very long.
Yeah. If it's all about money,
you're going to implode.
If it's all about money, then that's going to be your demise.
Yes.
Is money.
Yeah.
If we make money our idol, it'll be our demise. It's what's going to take us out. It just will. If we make it our number one focus, right? And so looking at money as a tool versus as a god is mammon. Money, the money god is mammon. Mm-hmm. So instead of looking at mammon as our god, we just look at it as a tool to accomplish the means of what our purpose is in life, right?
Yes.
And some people have greater talents and some people have lesser talents. But the point is, what are you doing with your talents, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. So why the push and why do you continue doing what you do with your channel? I mean, you guys are obviously, to what extent are you going to continue on? You're going to try to hit 10 million. And is that like a goal that you've got? Is that, because in the end, it could become a rat race.
Yes.
It could become a rat race, right? And so what's your strategy? Have you guys talked about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I would first say pretty much the core principles of the channel that was the reason why we started making the videos ourselves. Kind of I said we came together to start School of Hard Knocks. And pretty much the core principles that we wanted to help solve was that we weren't necessary. We came from different perspectives. I graduated from college. At the time, my brother was I was pretty much finishing up college. My brother James was pretty much just starting college, and Josh had dropped out of college to pursue better things.
Yeah.
And we all had these different perspectives of school, but we could all agree, like we all shared the same opinions of how we felt about school.
Yeah.
I felt like there's things that are not in the curriculum in just the traditional school system that need to be there.
Correct.
That need to be more emphasized.
Correct.
That we could almost, as if we need to start helping younger people kind of figure out where their strengths and their talents are and their passions for things a lot earlier.
Yes.
And a lot of kids a lot of children, they're not going to know what that is. Everybody says, well, you're young, you might not know how to figure out what you're passionate about and things like that. And that's fine. The way you figure that out is by
you gravitate.
You gravitate to things, right? Is introduce yourselves to new things, try new experiences.
That's right.
And I can't fix the traditional school system in one podcast.
No,
but I would say that two fundamental things were we need to just financial literacy and career mentorship. There's a little bit of a lack thereof in schools.
Yes.
The second was that the three of us had really great mentors growing up. And it really made it a lot easier for us to go up to successful, wealthy people and talk with them because we had a huge respect and admiration for people when we were like 10, 11, 12.
When they were much older people.
Much older people.
And you interacted with them.
Having those conversations for hours. We would sit and talk with a mentor in middle school. And
that were in their 20s, 30s, 40s.
50s,
okay,
60s,
50s. I love
even
that.
all range.
So you
30s,
guys,
40s, from coaches to scout leaders to military officials to teachers, gym, trainers, things like that.
I love it.
All across the board.
I love that.
And so through that, those are two things we'd hope our channel has helped solve a little bit, at least get people in the right direction. But in addition to that, we really want to strive to build a media company. That's what we figured out is what we're doing. It's not just a TikTok channel, but
I love it.
You look at Mr. Beast, who is the most followed creator on the planet. He makes a lot of money.
He does.
He's a media company.
He's a media company.
Overtime
Correct.
Sports was valued at $5 billion a few years ago. They started as a media content company. And so
That's amazing.
we that's where our vision has lied, is to build a media company, but with the right kind of values behind it.
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
I think that's the key thing. And that's what we talked about. Yeah, you see the goal, the vision is here. This is where I want to get to. You guys are here, but you're not just trying to jump there. And you don't want to sell out to your principles.
Never.
To get there.
Yeah. I mean 2 years ago, we interview a lot of wealthy people, right? And so 2 years ago we could have came out with School of Hard Knocks, Millionaire Blueprint, whatever. And it just, why? We're here to help people.
Because everybody else is doing that.
Yeah, we're here to help people. Like
the gurus say that's what you need.
We're working on launching a community for our audience, a way to try to help connect our audience with the mentors that we interview.
That's cool.
Because if we were to come out and say like, oh, buy the School of Hard Knocks Millionaire Blueprint, well, if you haven't built $1 million company yet, like, why are you selling it?
Yeah. Well,
like, our biggest thing is we've never wanted to dilute the brand. Branding is huge, and I think a part of the problem with people trying to grow a social media following is they don't realize how branding is everything.
yes.
Like, to the point where, like, when we first started making the videos, we weren't even in them. We would just interview people faceless. Like, it was just their face and getting their perspectives from an iPhone. Well, eventually we started being in the videos and people started to recognize the videos more. And then we put our logo on the videos, because then we were like, oh man, like, now people will stop taking our videos because people see the branding. And so like, just how we have the Kingdom Heirs water bottle right here.
Come on, baby.
Yes, sir.
See the brand?
Yes. You gotta protect the brand with all costs. And I think that's been key to us getting to where we are, is we will not sell out.
I love that. I mean, that's the key thing, is not selling out. Your vision, your passion. Even if someone walked up and said, look, I'll give you $5 million. Here, $5 million, just do it my way.
No.
And is it worth it? Is it worth it? Because in the end, if you're pursuing the cash, well, then that'd be the end goal. You got the cash.
Yeah. I think we've been so hesitant to take on investors because of that reason. We like doing things our way. We don't and we don't want a brand or whatever, somebody to come in and tell us like, hey, you can't post that person because we don't like what they said. And that's because it's like, it's not our even though we posted it doesn't mean like we might shit. It's our perspective.
Well, that's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point, because I've heard some of these things. I'm like, these guys are wild, crazy. I'm like, is that how Jack and James feel?
No, and that's
honestly, I mean, because but you're airing it, and some people say, well, dude, this guy's talking about God and faith, but some of these guys are definitely ungodly people they're interviewing, and I respect that, because it shows you what the world looks like.
Yes.
And then you got other people up there preaching that are just like, hey, this is the way that we did it.
Yes.
God first, business second. And I've heard these guys say that. And I think that gives you it lets the viewer make their decision, right? I mean, is that, it's pretty much how you present it.
Absolutely. We like we said, we respect all perspectives. It does, we've interviewed people that support different political parties on both sides. Yeah. We've interviewed people from a multitude of religions, and
because there are a multitude of religions.
Yes, yes. We from a ton of different backgrounds, and it's just one of those things where it's just like, you have to let the viewer decide who they want to listen to. I told you, yesterday when we were talking that, we see a lot of people that follow our channel and we meet them in person. Yeah. And they're also following other people that we have interviewed. We had somebody that followed Kingdom Heirs.
That's right.
And that's because they watched that video and that person resonated with them.
Yeah.
That advice spoke to them.
That's right.
And so in our video with you, and so they thought, they were just like, I really want to go check that person out. And so that's been a great thing. It's like, what's one of our goals is to connect our audience with mentors. And I think through that, we've been able to do that.
Let me ask you something. So since we started Kingdom Heirs 6 months ago, and it's been a fun journey, and what I've really appreciated is when people actually interact with us,
Yes.
like through the Instagram or through the Facebook, and they'll send us messages or requests or whatever, and we just chat with them. And I've made some really cool contacts. People are like, hey, I love what you're doing with the channel. And it's around the world, right? And there's people locally, some in Texas and around the country, but it's like, man, we really want to keep doing what you're doing. This is exactly what I needed to hear. This is the message that I needed to be reminded of. And I just want to connect with you.
Yeah.
I feel as though like you're doing what I'm doing in my own space, but I realized that I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only one that had this point of view. And then I see you and I'm like, and they're encouraged.
Yes.
Feeling inspired to keep on, right? Fight the good fight, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like, man, I love that. That's why I'm doing this. I want it to be an encouragement to others. Show them, people like yourself, your journey. Interview, talk. What advice can you share with us as we're trying to improve our own situations so that we can ultimately help our families and help others, right? So I think that's something that's very beautiful about this space of media that you're in.
Yeah,
it really is. It's
absolutely.
very special.
It's very similar. I mean, we've had kind of where we saw those values kind of lining up is we saw people from all over the world, not just the U.S. DMing us saying, "Hey, I left my job today to go start a business. And, it might be scary. It might not work out, but I just took the leap. We're not telling people go quit your job and go do something,
But that was where they were at.
But that's
they were already on the edge.
They made
just waiting.
They wanted to do this for a long time. They finally made the jump because of something in one of our videos that somebody probably told them that resonated with them that said, you know what am I waiting for?
Yeah.
I need to take that leap.
Yeah.
We've had we've interviewed just a ton of people, and it's been great to see the impact of that.
How do you, back to the point of DMs and people requesting just to connect with you, they want to connect with you.
Yeah.
How do you guys process all that? And who processes? Does Josh handle that mostly?
No, it's kind of all of us. I mean, we kind of all see it every now and then, depending on if anyone's doing anything in the account.
I mean, obviously there's bots. I mean, bots are also always trying to connect with us, right?
Yeah, it's. I mean, at this point, it's if you send like a genuine DM. Like something like, don't just say hi, or we get that all the time. We probably get like one of those every 2 days where somebody just says hi, and I'm like, what do you want? What
wave.
What does that mean? Because we get probably hundreds of thousands a week. It's pretty bizarre.
But do you think they're bots?
No, it's actual
people.
It's probably half of them are just
people don't know how to respond.
They don't know. Well, yeah, and so when we choose who to respond to, it's usually if they send us a really genuine message where it's just like, hey, this touched me or whatever.
Do you get any hate stuff?
All the time.
Do you really?
But yeah, it's just because maybe we posted someone that you didn't like or whatnot, and you just ignore it. I mean, it is what it is.
Again, it's just, hey, we're just sharing. Yeah. We're sharing what we're discovering. This is what we're discovering.
You're not gonna grow. You're not gonna grow. When you see people leaving a comment on a video that they don't like, that means you're growing.
That's right.
Good. It means you said something that triggered them, and maybe they sent it out to somebody who's like, oh, thank you for thank you for sparking the algorithm for me. Thank you.
Thank you for forwarding.
Yeah.
Thank you for the comments, and that was helpful for us. Speaking about algorithms and how things are constantly changing, is there a science? Is there a science for guys that say, man, I want to get into the media space like you have, like we have? Do you have any tips of advice for people that want to start a media channel?
Absolutely. So the first would be, like I said earlier, it's going to take longer than you think. Part of the problem where people go wrong is they figure out they want to do something, so they start posting in it, which is really what you should do, is just start posting. Even if you don't know what to post, just start posting. Mm-hmm. And I'll get to that in a second as to how you can figure out if you don't know what to post. But pretty much it's going to take a while. The way you can kind of do that faster is you need to just, a lot of times in the beginning, you need to stay consistent. Don't take time off. Literally making sure that you're putting content out every single day consistently to your audience. If you're skipping days and things like that, every once in a while, that's fine, just to test hey, how does that things are. But if you go 2-3 days without a post, you're not going to grow, especially in the beginning, because you need to build that trust with your audience. People a lot of times when people try to build personal brands, is they get discouraged after 30 videos because they haven't had one go viral yet. Well, it's nobody knows who you are. So why should they sit and watch one of your videos? So
right.
a couple tips that I would leave that, can maybe help is that first, when you kind of understand how videos are structured, it helps out a lot. The first 3 to 4 seconds, 5 seconds of a video are the most important by any means. It should be it's the hook. It's the most engaging part of the video. It really should reel people in. Like, you want to say something that could spark their attention, whether it's curiosity or it's a scroll stopper, just something that like either they hear or see that's going to get them to stop and watch the video. That could be a question, that could be a provoking thought. Like for us was questions. Like we used to start our videos, like now we start our videos going up to nice cars, but we used to do it pretty much just like asking a question like, what is the best piece of advice you tell your younger self? That's a thought-provoking question. People want to hear what the person has to say.
Yeah.
After the hook becomes the retention period, where you either need to deliver value in the form of education or information.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, information or entertainment. It's one of the, edutainment. That's sort of stuff.
Edutainment.
It's one of the.
You can make them laugh or make them think.
Yes.
Make them laugh or make them think.
Yeah, something that serves them in a way. We talked about serving people. Like the video, if it's reeled them in, okay, you got my attention. How are you going to keep it? And so then the final piece of the video is to close it off. Usually, try to get them to watch the video again or some sort of call to action, to really just like. If people took the time to watch your whole video, there's a chances are that they'll probably like more of your videos. So you want to sell them on the point of like, hey, this is why you should watch more. Like, hey, if you enjoyed this, watch more. Or
that's it.
Come follow, things like that. Other tips that I would probably say, if you don't know what content to post right now, which most people don't, is take out a sheet of paper, your notes app, and your iPhone. What niche are you in? What are you wanting to make content about? Is it fitness? Is it faith-based business? Is it cooking? Look up 10, 20, 30 content creators in your space, in that niche. Go to each of their videos and go through each single one that has performed really well. You can see the view count and write down what they did for each of those creators. If you do that for 30 people and you write down like 3 to 5 different concepts, you have like 2 months worth of content right there. And like you probably have like 60 to 120 ideas.
Wow.
That you start making. And you just go in and circle which ones you can do and just start.
Yeah, that's good. So. I love that. We had talked about analytics of retention.
Yeah.
Keeping people on. If you make a 1-minute video, doesn't mean people stay for a minute.
Yes.
What's the average retention? Do you have an idea of like just any average video?
For one of ours?
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends. I mean,
because we think we're creating hour-long content. Everybody's going to watch.
Yeah.
Hey, we had 500 views on that video. And they hung on for like the first 10 minutes or 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? For the most of them. Some of them actually will follow through.
Ideally, you want it to last beyond the hook.
Yes.
Because that means that people got to the retention period.
Correct.
If you can count how long your hook is, and it doesn't mean necessarily it'll be 1 million views, but if you can count how long your hook is, and you saw that people were staying on average longer than that, that means that on average more people are actually sitting and going into your valuable pieces of information.
Yeah.
YouTube, it's a little bit different. You typically you can actually YouTube is there's a bit of a number that you kind of want to see. You at least want like 70% of people not to drop off after the intro, like to stay after the intro. Where when we started our YouTube channel, we had a tough time. Where pretty much like we like our YouTube was a grind. Like starting out, like the first year we had nothing.
Wow.
And we're at 200K today, but like literally we weren't getting any views, and pretty much every video was like they would start and you just saw a complete drop off. Like people instantly just didn't like what they saw when they started the videos. But we had to work that way to build that audience trust to get people to be like, hey, sit through the intro. It's going to be a good video. Just wait.
You got to get you there.
It takes time.
Because I think the average watch time for people in general on social media is like 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Like that, they're just slip. They just want to, like, scrolling somehow must put people to sleep or cause them drowsiness.
It's because of a dopamine surge.
So it's a dopamine surge.
And the reason why I say that is because I was listening to Andrew Huberman, he's a neuroscientist, and he was talking on dopamine. He pretty much said that it's not dopamine hits that people get when they like and do all this stuff. No, it's an overarching surge of dopamine at the peak of when you're on social media of something that your brain really liked. For example, if you open up social media and you see a post and you're like, oh, your brain's, I really like that, and you enjoy that post. So maybe you scroll down a little bit, you see another post and you're not really into it as much. Well, that's because you already exasperated the dopamine on that first post. And that's why social media causes a lot, like, people that scroll out on social media, we're trying to use it as a good platform, but it can actually be a bad habit if you sit and scroll for a long time.
It's true.
And he had brought that up because he said if you had gone on 2 days later to Instagram and you saw that second post you didn't like as much, and that was the first post you saw, more than likely you'll probably like it a lot. You'll probably like it similar to the first one.
Interesting.
Because of dopamine. Yeah.
What do you think about, I get a ton of questions. We're running out of time, but I got a ton of questions. But what do you think about media, TV, networks? Do you think they're going to somehow be revitalized after people are done with social media because they have now they got to have detox of social media times? I mean, I've detoxed for time. I've said, look, I'm not going on social media for a couple months. I mean, I come back, but that's a real thing. I feel like it's a slippery slope. Social media is a slippery slope because people can get hooked and addicted, and then I gotta. And then TV they could watch, they'd be addicted to their shows, and then their shows are no longer really being aired anymore because people aren't watching traditional television network anymore. Yeah. Is there going to be a pendulum?
So for that concept, I would love to be optimistic and say that, but
of course, I know because you were in the space.
But I mean, to be honest, I think it's going to get deeper. I think it's going to get deeper. I think that traditional media is on its way out, cable TV, all that sort of stuff. You're seeing a lot of these cable channels like ESPN, things like this. I'm using the sports one as an example. A lot of these sports companies like Fox Sports, ESPN, and Universal, I think, are it might be Paramount, Universal.
Have they moved all over to YouTube?
They're working to create streaming platforms,
right? Like
Netflix. You see now that people are paying for 8 different streaming platforms.
Yes.
The only reason a lot of people watch cable is for the news, and even that's moving to streaming, or sports, and now that's moving to streaming.
Yeah.
And traditional media is pretty much out. It's all moving to decentralized streaming content. The social media is already there. I think, unfortunately, it's going to get a lot deeper when you start getting into VR, virtual reality.
Yeah.
People are just going to get more sucked in. To where in the isolation is going to go up as well,
right? Because they're not in communities anymore. Now they're just in their houses, their rooms.
It's a lot. It's a lot easier to go out in public and be sucked into here. But when you start putting the goggles on and things like that, you're going to look a little strange walking out in public with that. And so you're going to be a lot more isolated.
Yeah,
but
we've seen some people doing it. It's getting wild.
Yeah, but there are a lot of positives to social media, and I feel that our platform is one of those positives. That's a biased statement, but I would say that we truly have intentionally good intentions behind the content that we're trying to deliver to people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to talk about the good, bad, and the ugly with everything.
Yeah,
and with everything, moderation and balance. And it's not our responsibility to make sure that people are balanced. It's their responsibility. Our responsibility, in my opinion, is to create good content that brings value to them, that can help them succeed in life.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
We're here to help.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I'd love to leave the audience with kind of interviewed we've interviewed thousands of people, and very successful. And there's a couple things across the board that I've seen with a lot of these successful and wealthy people that I would love to touch on for everyone out there. The first is a monetary component that I think that a lot of the wealthy and successful people that we have interviewed, they usually invest in some sort of cash flowing producing asset. Usually real estate.
Yes.
When we look at the levels of the people we interview from, the
throw some names. Who are some of the people you've interviewed?
We've done the CEO of Frito-Lay, Stephen Williams.
That was really good.
Former president of Nike, Elliott Hill, Mark Cuban. We've done Grant Cardone, Andy Elliott, Justin Waller. A lot of former CEO of Neiman Marcus. Have you
met with Jocko yet? Jocko?
No, not yet. But that would be awesome.
Jocko,
would love to interview Jocko.
He's twice your size.
Yeah, he is.
He's a tower. When Michaela and I met him, and he shook my hand, he swallowed my hand up. I was like, oh my goodness, give my hand back.
Goggins would be a good one too. David Goggins. But yeah, I mean through a lot of this, when we look at the levels of people, from in regards to people that are making probably the 9 figures plus.
Yeah.
They're all usually invested in some sort of cash flowing asset, whether it's real estate or other businesses.
Yes.
Now I know it's hard, you got to work your way up there, but that's just the truth of the statement.
Real estate should always be a side hustle for anybody who's in business, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah.
The second would be is they have a phenomenal relationship with leverage, usually to the degree of how monetarily successful they are. They have a really phenomenal relationship with leverage. Mm-hmm. Their ability to delegate, their ability to, create systems and processes at a wide scale or range. is what we've seen. Usually, the difference between, I would say, someone that's making, just a million a year versus 100 million is just like the leverage is on a completely different playing field. I know money is a big component of that, but it comes down to people as well, just scaling their teams and things like that. The third would be is they have a duality between they are very grounded in the fact that, there's so much more that I need to accomplish. They're just getting started.
That's it.
But at the same time, they have this very radically optimistic belief in themselves that they can be
Whatever.
They can achieve more than anybody out there. And it's they understand where to kind of put their money. They understand how to control it to help them get them further, which is the leverage, as well as working with people and things like that. And they have this duality of where they're like, they try to have a sense of humility where it's like, hey, I need to go. Like, there's so much more that I can do. I'm not even started yet. But then at the same time, they realize that like I'm hungry. I'm on top of it. I can take on anybody.
I love
that sort of drive.
Yeah, because that's confidence.
Yes.
Because confidence builds confidence. It just, the more we accomplish and we see that we were able to walk through the fire and walk through the failures and walk through the challenges and the hurt relationships, and we've been able to survive it all.
Yes.
We can still press on.
Yes.
We still can make it. We can still keep going.
Absolutely.
Right?
They've gone through those trials and tribulations. They know what it takes to get there.
That's it.
And they know that you have to be humble, but you also have to be hungry.
Humble and hungry.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a good word, Jack.
Yes, sir.
Jack, this was good. I appreciate you taking time to meet with me and share your experiences and share with me what your journey's like. Even you've accomplished a lot from a young age. You mind if we say how old you are?
I'm 23.
23.
Yeah, I'm 24 in a week or so.
So we all thought Jack was 43. Not because you look 43, because you talk with the wisdom of a 43-year-old.
Wow.
And that to me has been probably one of the greatest privileges of meeting with you and your brothers, because your brother's younger too. And Josh is a little older, no?
Josh is 25.
Yeah, so he's like the old guy in the room. It's hilarious. But you guys just have a sense of understanding, humility, and you're eager to implement the wisdom that you learn.
Thank you.
And I think that's what's super cool about watching you guys is, and I've said this to you before several months ago, like you're just at the beginning.
Yes.
You're just at the beginning.
Yeah.
And whatever that looks like will really just be determined by your own passions, your own zeal, and really your determination of what God's going to do in your life, and dreaming with God. I think that's the key thing. I just want to close with this is that, when you really allow yourself to dream with God, your mind will be blown away, like of what He'll place in your heart, and you're like, are you serious?
Yes. And
it's usually not about being a billionaire.
Yeah.
Really, that could possibly happen, but it's not like. But that's not ever
really. It should be a byproduct.
It's like a byproduct, but really, it's that you get to see from his perspective how he sees the world, and how you are an integrate part of his plan in the world. I think that's super cool, right?
Yeah.
So just want to encourage you with that message. Keep dreaming with God, and believe in walking with Him. I think it's going to be, like I said, I'm excited to see what you guys are going to do.
Thank you. It's one of those things where we interview a lot in our interviews. There are a lot of successful people, like you said earlier, that you've seen. They praise God and they put Him first. And we don't hold back on that content. We make sure that gets out.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome, dude. Well, thank you again. Hey, guys, if you liked what you heard, like what you saw, like, subscribe, ring the bell. We're going to add Jack and James and Josh's content up as well, so you guys can connect with their channel. We love their channel. We've been featured on the channel as well, so thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And so thank you guys so much. We love you guys. God bless you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys.